So coming off of the previous chapter, we saw Maru activating his curse technique against Tsurugi, which is gravity manipulation, telekinesis to some extent. Maybe it will be explained, maybe it won't, but that kind of shifted the fight into the favor of Maru, and he gained the momentum there. And coming into this chapter, we're cutting away from that momentarily, and we're coming to Tsurugi having like this inner monologue slash flashback kind of, where we're finding out about his father for the first time. His father, of course, is Yuta, or Akotsu's son. I mean, of course, that's how lineage works, but just to emphasize who this character is. So this guy kind of sucks, I guess. I mean, not from like a fighting perspective. We don't have any idea about how he ranks up in there, but just as a person, he kind of sucks. So first of all, Akotsu, Maki, and Tsurugi's mom just didn't want to talk about this guy. And he also just disappeared after Yuka was born. So it's not exactly fully explained why he left at this point, but I guess it's implied that once he found out that one of his kids was going to have a curse technique, that was enough for him to just leave or something. Because, you know, Tsurugi doesn't have a curse technique. He has heavenly restriction, which in itself is like a curse technique. I mean, it's just as good, if not better, than most curse techniques anyway, and it's even more rare than having a curse technique. I would be happy if my child had heavenly restriction. Are you kidding me? But anyway, that's besides the point. But his whole thing is that I guess he's like jaded that his generation and the generation after him aren't strong like the generation before him. You know, like the generation that we see in the original series. And it's also like, why does he care? It doesn't really matter, because first of all, he wasn't a part of it. Like, he probably came around a decade after Sukuna's death, maybe. And yes, he probably grew up seeing all of these strong sorcerers, but I don't know why he's so jaded about it, because he had nothing to do with that stuff at all. He didn't participate in it to any extent. Now, as for him disappearing, it is what it is. I mean, it's probably better that he was gone, but does this mean that he's still out there? Probably. I don't think he's dead. I mean, unless he was killed or something, but he wouldn't be dying of like old age at this point. He'd probably be in his like 50s, maybe in his 60s at the most. Does that mean that he's gonna come back? Maybe. I mean, we're coming towards the end of this series now. We have maybe what, 8 chapters left, something like that, maybe even less than that. So maybe he'll come back, but knowing Gege, I wouldn't be surprised if this is as far as it goes. But this sequence ends with us finding out that before he had disappeared, I guess shortly before that, he was talking to Yuji. We don't know what they were talking about, but the conversation ended with Yuji saying, "It doesn't matter." I mean, I guess this has something to do with either the birth of Yuka or the strength of sorcerers in the modern day. Is it related to Yuka having the 10 shadows? Is it related to some kind of fight or something? Or you can just insert your own fantastical theory as to what they're talking about here. I don't know, I guess Yuji is ultimately telling us what Gege wants us to think, and that it literally doesn't matter. But it's cool to see Yuji again. And that brings up another thing about, hey, you know, where's Yuji? Is he coming back? And we've been talking about this for a very long time now, the last 2 months. And I was way more optimistic about it before, but now I'm thinking that if we do see Yuji show up in the series, it's going to be for very brief aura farming. And I don't think he's going to do anything of substance, to be honest. Aside from that, I think there also is a big chance that we just never see him show up, and we're just only going to see him in flashbacks or something. But we're coming back to the Tsurugi and Maru fight, and they're like fighting all over the city here, like going through skyscrapers and flying around and stuff. I mean, not literally flying, but you know what I mean. But it's kind of all over the place because of how Maru is manipulating gravity, I suppose. It's kind of playing out the way that one fight scene in Inception does. I'm sure this will look pretty cool in the anime once it gets adapted in like 5 years, maybe even 6. But they come to this point of where their swords like intersect because Maru's blade is like split. They wind up disarming each other of the swords, and they kind of just go into this hand-to-hand fight. And Maru winds up doing like the Bruce Lee 1-inch punch thing, which, let me just put it out there, not very practical in real life. Don't waste your time training that, and definitely don't try to use that in the rare situation where you actually have to defend yourself against another human being. And he winds up sending Tsurugi into a building, and then he just gathers all of these cars and like throws them all at him. I'm sure some people were wondering, like, how strong is Maru? Is he like special grade? I would say yes, for sure. This is definitely special grade level. And I think a lot of people seem to just always equate like special grade to having to be like Gojo, Sukuna, or Akotsu, and I don't think that's the case at all. I think Gojo and Sukuna shouldn't be be labeled as special grade. They're like above special grade, or there's actually like another term, I guess, that the community is adopting for these outliers, which I'll make a video about in the next 2 weeks or whatever. Because just remember, like the finger bearer from like episode 4 of Jujutsu Kaisen, I think, is like a special grade. So like there's obviously a huge difference between him and Gojo. But Tsurugi is like down for the count after this. And Maru, of course, is like upset that he has to do this, as we saw in the previous chapter. He's very conflicted. He doesn't want to have to kill Maru, but you know, the way that things are going, he's kind of forced to. Especially now that his third eye is like working together with him, which seems to have like a separate consciousness, question mark. And then as Tsurugi's having like this inner monologue, he thinks he's about to be visited by like a Kotsu, like his grandfather, or like his ghost, meaning that I guess he thinks that he's close to death, until it's actually Rika manifesting from the Rika ring that was passed down to him through the Gojo clan. We saw that in the first chapter. But given that there was so much emphasis placed on the ring, and the ring just still existing, I mean, we could just assume that Rika existed in there in some extent, and she literally does. She has like way more personality than she did before. Not just like the original version of Rika, which was just like a raw cursed spirit, I guess, and even more so what she eventually becomes in like that Shikigami pseudo cursed spirit thing that accompanies Akotsu's curse technique. She's like, yeah, you really took after that woman, you know, referring to Maki, because she kind of has beef with Maki because Akotsu married her, and Rika, you know, loves Akotsu in various weird ways. And she's like, since it's Yuta's request, I'll help you. Just say I accept. Meaning that Akotsu set up some kind of contingency with Rika in the ring, where it was like, hey, you know, if my grandson ever needs help, then you come out at the last second and do whatever you're gonna do to help him. And Tsurugi winds up accepting the help of Rika, and she like fuses with him. She becomes like armor for him, which is very different than what we've seen before. Before, Rika was kind of like an autonomous Shikigami or cursed spirit that fought alongside Akotsu, but now she just becomes like a helmet for Tsurugi, kind of. And it's also implied that she's giving him like a super boost of cursed energy. And Rika with Tsurugi just blasts Maru away here. As we can see, not only the power has increased, but the speed as well. And Rika's like, who are you supposed to be? You know, talking to Maru. And Tsurugi's like, you know, I appreciate it if you don't, you know, speak so freely here. And Rika's like, how rude. I'll tell Yuta in heaven. And then Tsurugi's like, wait, do you even go to heaven? And that brings up another question. It's like, wait, is there a heaven? I mean, I guess there has to be some kind of afterlife in the Jujutsu Kaisen world, since we saw that there's some kind of purgatory at least. Don't worry, we're never really going to get into that stuff. It's never going to be fleshed out, so I wouldn't worry about it. But it's like, is Rika communicating with the ghost or the spirit of Akotsu, or is this just a figure of speech or something? Let's go back to what Yuji says. It doesn't matter. But yeah, this is where the fight is going to continue. But also, I just wouldn't be surprised if we cut away from this and we come back to Deborah taking on Big Raga. But yeah, this is very interesting. The new application of Rika, which is just like helmet, question mark, helmet, curse tool, armor buff, which is crazy because, you know, like we were talking about before, Tsurugi already has heavenly restriction, but now he's getting the best of both worlds with not having any cursed energy inherently and getting the heavenly restriction buff from that. But now Rika is giving him cursed energy, which for sure breaks the rules, but at the same time it doesn't, because Tsurugi himself doesn't have cursed energy. It's just like an external source from Rika. So I'm really curious to see how that works. Heavenly restriction that has been given cursed energy, especially the amount that Rika is implied to be giving him. I wonder if also Rika has like cursed techniques just left in her hard drive or whatever from Akotsu. That would be really interesting. I don't know if it works that way. We don't really know how any of this works yet. But let me know what you thought about this in the comments, guys. If you liked it, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.